there's a couple of things you've got to look at here. It means a lot to me. The first is, if you're trying to study this from an enforcement perspective or from an intelligence perspective, this distrust of institutions, whether it's insurance, whether it's the military, which 20 years ago you would have said everybody trusts the military. People say there's too much DEI in the military. Federal courts, people don't trust the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court is trying to institute ethics reforms. The Supreme Court, really, people don't trust them. They don't trust their school teacher. They don't trust anybody. So the first is the universal view that you can't trust an institution. The second is this sense of vigilante justice in this country. And I would link this, it seems a bit bizarre, to January 6th. That is, the government's not going to solve this for me. The Congress is dysfunctional. It's on me to solve the problem, whether it's a stolen election or whether it's an insurance executive that doesn't care about me. It's on me as an American vigilante to solve this problem. When you put those two together, the universal belief that institutions don't serve me and the sense that it's on me to solve that and that violence is okay, Chris, you're talking about hundreds of thousands, millions of people who view that, whether it's about insurance or whether it's about the government. This is a crisis in this country about a lack of respect for institutions and a belief fundamentally that violence is okay, Chris.
How is it different from what you spent most of your life fighting and what we were supposed to fear most here when it comes to fundamentalism, which is extreme Islamism?
I'll give you one difference. I can't hunt it. So if I'm hunting the people that I hunted, there's a center of violence that is already sort of known as being illegal. That is, I have justification for looking at them. I can look at their emails. I can look at their phones. I can study how they travel. I can steal everything they own, from a laptop to anything in your house. I can break in. I can work with a foreign security service. I can tell the police to arrest you. So how do I find people who believe that insurance is bad in this country? Well, that's about 70% of the country. So I'm going to, I'm making a joke, but it's a lot, including me. I had United Healthcare, and I'd have some questions. But my point is, how do you find people who have not committed a crime, who are not American citizens, and who have a level of anger toward an institution that a lot of us don't respect very much? So there is one similarity, though, in this case from between this individual and the people I follow that's really fascinating. That's isolation. If you're going to go over a ledge to say, I want to murder a husband and a father, that ledge requires an incredible emotional commitment. This individual, I'd be curious to see when he started to go down over that ledge and when he started to isolate himself. If you're going to go over that ledge to say murder is okay, you're going to start to say, I don't want to hear from people who have a different perspective. Isolation is the same thing I saw with terrorists. I don't want anybody else's opinion. Mine is the only one that counts.
So, Professor, in the manifesto, there are two obviously points of emphasis for him. One is, I did a lot of planning on my own about this, and it's going to be hard for some of you to track it because you're stupid and I'm a genius. But I did all my own work, and I planned it out, and this is how I do it. I still want to know how he knew he was going to be in front of that hotel at that time in the morning. He doesn't explain that. The other point of emphasis is that this is something that has to be fought against. That's the part to me that just screams of Islamism and every other kind of extreme sect that we've chased around the world for understanding, that this is the only way, and to make this way happen, we must be violent. What does it mean to you in terms of developing understanding of this man?
Well, there were several points about the manifesto that stood out to me. One is there's a narcissism. I did this. It was brilliant. I'm the only one who's involved in this. And so he's kind of the smartest guy in the room. But I thought it really lacked, from other manifestos I've looked at, it really lacked rage. There was anger, for sure, but there was chattiness in it. There were just some odd references. I actually expected to see more passion in it. So that's one of the reasons. I'm not sure that we've really seen the inside of this guy's mind just by looking at these scribbled pieces of paper. I think there's more to the story that is yet to be seen. He's
going to talk, and he's going to tell his story because he's proud of this. And yes, he knows, or is going to know, he's got legions of actual fans. I have never seen anything like it in our history, where someone assassinated somebody and people liked what happened. Free Him was trending last night. Hey, thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your screen. And don't forget, click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.